Ladies and gentlemen, my name is TotalBiscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is Sonic Generations? Oh no, it's another bad Sonic game. Actually, kind of isn't. Let me show you why. So this is the latest in the Sonic franchise, one of few Sonic games to make it to PC. Although I say that, and they've been re-releasing a lot of the really old ones in very sort of poor emulated, wrapped kind of things. And I believe we also got Sonic Adventure DX, if I remember correctly, which wasn't especially good. We've also had Sonic Colors. Did we get Sonic Colors? I can't really remember. Whatever the case, a lot of the Sonic games have not really been so great lately, have they? No, they have not. However, Sonic Generations aims to change that, so let me show you. So, first thing I'd like to say about the PC version, incidentally, of this game is that it has a configuration window which is outside of the game. So it's one of those ports where you've got to basically go outside the game, run the configuration before you start it, set your options, and then go in, which can be a little frustrating because sometimes you don't know exactly what you want to do. Also, the configuration options in general are a bit weak. You don't have a lot of options. You've got a lot of resolution options, which is okay, but you don't have windowed mode, for instance. There are very few graphics options to customize. Most of them's just high or low, so those of you with particularly poor PCs might end up running into issues. It's not an especially demanding game, but still, something to bear in mind. Also, what I will say is that this game does not run all that well with keyboard. You can play it, but it takes a lot of getting used to. Also, when I tried it with keyboard, the actual hints for controls were coming up as Xbox 360 buttons. So I was having to learn what the keys were in relation to the Xbox 360 buttons and so forth. So, honestly, I highly, highly recommend playing a game like this with a 360 pad or just any other kind of controller. You can rebind the keys. It lets you do that in the configuration window outside of the game. But I'd say that this game is designed with a pad in mind. And I don't think there's really any way you can actually change that. I mean, it is a Sonic game, and this Sonic game has quite a few extra controls to get used to. Alright, so what is Sonic Generations all about? So you, for some inexplicable reason, are in some weird hub world whereby you can be this Sonic, i.e. the good Sonic, or the douchey Sonic, which is this one. He's the one who forgot how to spin dash, for instance. But he's got hyper supersonic speed thingy, and all sorts of other things like the lock-on and the dash forward. You can switch between them at will. And there is a reason for that, because half of the levels are played as Classic Sonic, who acts the way you would expect Classic Sonic to work, and also, for the most part, the physics work the same way as they did in the original Sonic games. They're not exactly the same. I'm not going to say that they're perfect emulations, but they're way better than Sonic 4. Sonic 4, for instance, had terrible physics issues, but for the most part, momentum works really, really well in this game, as you can see. That is way, way better than the Sonic 4 things, whereby spinning and going up and down ramps and things like that really didn't give you the momentum that you wanted. You'll see that momentum does tend to maintain much, much longer in this version here, which is good. Alright, so let me show you a classic level. Let's do Chemical Plant, because Chemical Plant, of course, is my favorite Sonic level of all time. I liked Sonic when I was a kid. I didn't actually own anything to play Sonic on, but I used to go to my friend's house all the time in order to play Sonic 2, and of course when Sonic 3 came out, that was really exciting for us. Alright. So, this is the Act 1 version, as you can see. This plays very much like a classic Sonic game, and a lot of the levels will give you the impression that they are classic Sonic levels in the fact that they actually reuse some bits from the levels of, say, Sonic 2 here in Chemical Plant. There's a lot of recognizable elements. However, there are also a lot of changes as well. Camera angle changes, for instance. You'll have seen this quite a lot in the good bits of Sonic Unleashed, i.e. the bit where you're not a sodding werewolf for no apparent frickin' reason. It's like the creators of Sonic Unleashed watched a little bit too much frickin' Twilight. I have no idea what happened there, but yeah, it wasn't so great. But it goes into this sort of 2.5D, but for the vast majority of the time, I'm failing so bad here. For the vast majority of the time, you are playing in a 2D setup. I failed miserably. I don't even know what I was doing there. I'm trying to actually focus on the game and show you this level. Anyway. All of the levels you're going to find in here, as far as I can tell, are inspired by old Sonic games. Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Knuckles. You've also got, I think there's even some Spinball stuff in there, because I'm pretty sure that you can unlock soundtrack from Sonic Spinball. There's also Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 stuff in there as well, which is interpreted very well. They also give you Sonic 1, 2, and 3, a classic Sonic style, of Sonic Adventure levels, which is also really awesome. Liking that an awful lot. This feels like Sonic. It does. The Act 1 levels at any rate. However, there's always an Act 2 of every level, and that's when you play the more modern Sonic, and that will transition between three-dimensional stuff that you have no doubt expected to have seen from Sonic Adventure and such, as well as some of the later Sonic games, like, say, Sonic and the Secret Rings, stuff like that. It mixes it up quite nicely, and honestly, I expected the 3D segments to be a real chore. They're actually not. They are really well put together. Whoa, none of that, thank you very much. They are really well put together. They feel really good. Yes, you do go at ridiculous hyper speeds, and it can be kind of difficult to control at times. But for the most part, they're really well designed, and they actually have a lot of variety in them as well. There are some segments where you're just going forward at hyper speed. There are some where it transitions out to a two-dimensional plane. There are some segments where you're flying through the air and having to dodge various things. It's good. It varies the gameplay up very nicely, and it actually controls in a fairly slick manner. I'd also like to say that the lock-on system, while I found to be fairly annoying in most three-dimensional Sonic games, is actually kind of a boon in Sonic Generations because it really keeps your momentum going. You can lock on to continue to gather speed and reach ludicrous levels of speed later on. Now, Chemical Plant is probably a bad zone to show in terms of technical side of things. You may be noticing frame drops, maybe not, but some of the water segments in Chemical Plant drop frames. I don't really know why this is. It might be just an options issue with the PC version. It's not a huge problem, as in it's not going to really impede you playing the game all that much, and it doesn't seem to happen on other levels. It only seems to happen on Chemical Plant. Maybe it happens on some of the later stuff. But that's just a minor technical flaw that I think needs to be patched out there, along with, of course, the issues of the PC version not having a huge number of options, although at least it does have some. No windowed mode, and it being very difficult to control with the keyboard. Not impossible, but rather tricky. Now, you get rankings at the end of all of these, which give you points to unlock all sorts of other things. There's actually skill sets in this game, if you can believe that, and you are able to kind of upgrade Sonic with various skills and things like that. So if I were to go over here, for instance, no, this is the Sonic Memories room. We're not going in there just yet. That's basically your nostalgia room to see all sorts of pieces of artwork. There's a chair over there from Sonic Adventure, and you can go to the skill shop, and you can use your points to buy something. You can begin with 10 rings, have to restart there. Extra life when you're out of lives. You can just buy an extra life. That's pretty nice as well. You know, a lot of these skill upgrades are very, very cheap. This one, for instance, we could get Blast Off, and then what you can do is you can go to your skills sets and you can customize and equip certain skills, which seems to work fairly well. For instance, out there I've got Power Break, Athleticism, so I lose less momentum and speed when going uphill. I can equip a shield right there, and I can't equip the other one. I don't have the points for it. But then you can save your skill set and all that stuff. I think some skills are only available for Classic Sonic, and some skills are only available for the other Sonic. Okay, confirm that skill set. So if I were to press Y to switch over to the other Sonic, we can have a look at skill customization there, see how that works. Look at skill set A, and there you'll see the Blast Off is available here for the modern Sonic, but it's not available for the other Sonic. The classic Sonic actually got Shield there, which is quite nice as well. So I can equip that, confirm it, and there you go. And you've got various skill sets that you can use for various challenges. This game encourages you to go through a lot of different challenges and go for the absolute highest score. There's an online mode whereby you can compete for score and things like that. But there are also a ton of challenges. Now, before I show you the challenges, I'm going to show you Green Hill Zone. Yes, very nice remixes of the music going on in the background. And this is in the modern Sonic, yeah? So this is what you can be expecting from that. I'll then try and show you a boss battle and some of the challenges that are available. Some of the remixes of the music are really, really good. Some, perhaps not so much. Like, they do certain modifications, for instance, to the music for the classic zones. Minor remixes. For the most part, it's very, very faithful to the original music, but every now and again, they will make some changes here and there when they feel that it's for the best. Some of the remixes, really, really solid. Some, not so much, in my honest opinion. It's going to really be down to personal preference, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, the actual speed you can make up on these levels is pretty ridiculous. You see there it transitions through from the 3D to the 2D in a really solid manner. And there are a bunch of different moves that you have to learn here. Like the idea of dashing and the idea of having to boost and slide under various areas. It can be a little dizzying to start, but as I say, I actually really like the modern segments. They are fast, they are fun, they look good. You're not just pressing forward all the time. It feels like you do have to control. You've got all sorts of things you do, like stunts and things in the air, which is quite nice. But yeah, you are encouraged just to try and make your way through these levels as fast as humanly possible. And it can be tricky sometimes. What I also like is the fact that even these levels seem to have a lot of different areas you can go to. Like, they're not just completely linear. Sure, segments like this kind of are, but you'll find a lot of parts in this game where you fall down and you get into a different area of the level. Now, that's something that's really been a problem in a lot of modern Sonic games, in that they've been a linear press right to go forward and win kind of thing. Hell, even Sonic Rush had this problem, which was considered to be a fairly reasonable portable 2D Sonic game, but it very often was just press forward. Here there is actual platforming, and if you fail the optimum route, you'll end up on a different route. There's actually a subtlety and complexity to the design of the levels, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm really a big fan of that, and that applies both to the modern Sonic levels as well as to the classic Sonic levels. And that's great. That really shows that Sega can actually design a decent Sonic game now. And how long has it been since we've had a really decent Sonic game? I ask you that. Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? I made a comment on Twitter that I sort of believe to be true, in that this is a love letter to diehard Sonic fans, and even those who just enjoyed Sonic in their youth and then just couldn't enjoy it as they grew up because most of the games were bad. Except it's a letter from abusive parents, yeah, who've been abusing for the last 10 years. So it's kind of hard to forgive them for that, but like, so far, I am loving this game so goddamn much. And everything I'm playing, I am enjoying. I'm not finding things frustrating. And the game is just jam-packed full of content. You've got these 2 acts on every single mission. S-rank, so S-rank. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. And then you've got tons of challenges, which you actually have to do some of them. You don't have to do all of them. So you can pick the kinds of challenges you want to do. And you use those in order to unlock bosses to get the next set of levels. There is a lot of voice acting going on in this game, which is, for the most part, pretty damn terrible, I have to say. But it's corny in a sort of funny way. Alright, so these are the challenges. Challenges, I believe, are actually all available in Act 1 and Act 2 versions. So if you want to do challenges purely as Classic Sonic, you can. If you want to do challenges as this version of Sonic, you can. And you'll notice here, there are 2 different versions. I can get the invincibility power-up and get past hordes of enemies and reach the goal in time in order to get across all these spikes. Or I can do the underwater ring machine, which is a completely different one. Let's try this one, shall we? And there are loads of different variants and challenges. I think there's like 10 different types of challenge. And they use these levels, and they don't just reuse the same level all the time, which is pretty cool. Like, yes, they'll use the artwork from it, but a lot of these, like, for instance, this is not in the Chemical Plant Zone. As far as I'm aware, I don't recognize this bit from Chemical Plant. They've just made a ton of different variants of levels on Chemical Plant's theme, and that applies to every level in the game as well. Once again, a bit of a frame drop there on Chemical Plant, but it's a minor technical problem that doesn't really impede your enjoyment of the game too much. And obviously, I am also running fraps here, so that will compound the problem. It does happen without fraps on as well, but it is, for the most part, an issue with the way that Chemical Plant is rendered. But again, it's such a minor issue, and it's really hard not to actually love the hell out of this game, because what it does right, it does really, really right. Hell, even the voice acting being cheap cheap and sort of cheesy adds a certain flavor to the game, because let's be honest, Sonic's never done serious very well. It's always been really outlandish. Even the intro sequence has actually got references to the Sonic comic and the Sonic cartoon, whereby he's given a gift of a giant chili dog and nonsense like that. And there's tons of funny references as well. For instance, if you rescue one of your friends as classic Sonic, they often won't recognize that it's you. Like, for instance, I think I rescued Knuckles as classic Sonic, and he complained that I'd gained weight, because, yes, classic Sonic is actually pretty fat. So, that is really funny. It's a nice little bit of... I suppose it's kind of laughing at itself, really, isn't it? And that's great. I like the sense of humor that this version has. You might wonder what this is. This is a way of getting a hold of extra bonus material. If you grab this note, when you ring one of these bells, you can unlock artwork, and you can, more to the point, unlock soundtrack. And you can actually then set a level to a soundtrack. If you have a favorite Sonic theme and you don't really like, say, Sky Sanctuary's theme, you can put Chemical Plant on if you've unlocked it. I think I'm almost certain, actually, that I've unlocked the music for... Yeah, let's have a look at what I've unlocked. Splash Hill Zone from Sonic 4 and Toxic Caves. It was I can't remember. Was Toxic Caves Spinball? I can't remember. I think it might have been. I don't know why anyone would have Splash Hill. Because, honestly, the music from Sonic 4 was pretty diabolical. But, you know, I could go Toxic Caves here. And then I can do this challenge. And I can change between the One Ring Challenge. Basically, you die. If you get one chance, and then you die. I can go for this version, which is Act 1, where I've got to use Tails. So, there you go. Let's check this out. I'll show you the boss levels here as well, because some of them are pretty good. Tails is as annoying in both versions. There are actually 2 Tails in this game, and they both are terrible. Come on, Tails. Sort me out. That's kind of neat, because for the most part, you do play as Sonic, but every now and again, you'll get a challenge whereby you can use one of these characters. But it doesn't force you to do that all the time, which is in itself fantastic, because, hey, honestly, if you're playing a Sonic game, you want to play as bloody Sonic. Yes, all of the annoying characters are still there, but they do also take the mick out of them as well. For instance, Amy Rose constantly gets the piss taken out of her, and that's pretty fantastic. Even in the opening sequence, she's getting screwed over, so, yeah, I like that. They do just make it obvious that they realize there are issues with those characters, and so they sort of play on them to make the game a little bit funnier for the more diehard Sonic players. Things, even if you've never played a Sonic game before, I would still recommend this, because of the sheer amount of variety in gameplay that's actually available. There's so much in this game. For instance, in the UK, this game actually costs £20 on PC. That's on Steam. That is really cheap for a brand new release. It's like, there is so much value in the game there. I don't know if it's as cheap in the US or in the EU. I'll find out after this video, and I'll put it in an annotation with the prices there for Steam. But seriously, that is a good price for a game with so much content in it. There's a lot of replayability as well, because I have a feeling a lot of people are going to want to do speedruns on this because of the online challenge modes and leaderboards. Sonic, later on in its lifespan, the older Sonic games on, say, for instance, YouTube, it was all about doing speedruns of certain levels. This game knows about that, and it makes it a core integral part of the game. It rewards you for doing really well, and it gives you that online mode as well. And of course, learning the optimal routes is very important, being able to hit all of these little speed traps. You know, for instance, I missed the speed trap there. I could have gone faster than that and got a higher score on this level. That's really great. It embraces what Sonic is all about. Alright, okay. So, let me show you this. So, there are certain events where you get to fight against classic Sonic characters, and they unlock stuff as well. I'll show you the Metal Sonic fight, because this is pretty interesting. Also, they unlock a hard mode after you've done this. I could try the hard mode. Should I try the hard mode? I should try the hard mode, shouldn't I? Okay. We're going to do a rival battle against Metal Sonic, and I'm going to try the hard mode. This is probably going to be disastrous, but we'll give it a shot anyway. You get this little cutscene that introduces the character, and you fight against it in a sort of scripted boss battle format. The first boss you actually fight in this game, by the way, is Robotnik in his Death Egg form from Sonic 2. And the boss battle is actually really good. It mixes 2D and 3D together very, very nicely. It's sort of Sonic Rush style, but much better executed. Because all of Sonic Rush style stuff is in, if I remember correctly, it's all in 3D, and that's not so great. Alright, let's try not to screw this up. I think the hard mode of this has got additional plates that you stand on that actually knock you backwards, and you lose speed and momentum. God damn it, I screwed that up. It's quite hard. This is actually quite difficult to Oh, God. It's quite difficult to hit Metal Sonic. You've got to try and wait for him to get exhausted, then speed up to the right speed, and then be able to hit him before he gets back on, which is quite difficult. You've got to manage your speed and momentum quite carefully in this version. You don't want to lose too much of it. There we go. Once you get a couple of hits, it'll transition into the next stage of the battle, and the battle will pretty much go on for as long as need be. It'll give you rings every now and again. I think in this segment he starts throwing lampposts at me because, you know, he's just a bit of a bastard that way. Ah! You've got to watch the shadows there to keep an eye on where the lamppost is actually going to fall, i.e. there. Need speed up, this is going to kill me. Never mind. Yes, that version is much harder than the other one, but it is still fun. It's a good mode, and there are more of these to unlock as you go through the game. I think pretty much the entire game so far I've been enjoying. I can't think of a segment of the game that has frustrated me. All of the 2D segments, all of the 3D segments have played really, really well. And the boss battles seem to go really well too. They're well designed. I like that. The game's also not about, I say, just getting up ludicrous amounts of speed. It's more the case that there's a lot of platforming in the classic Sonic games and acts in this game, and there's more about the speed and lock-on and momentum in the Act 2 of every stage. But they're still good. Like I said, it's not just hold right and win. You can't do that. If you do that, you will screw up. So I think they've actually finally nailed down what modern Sonic should be, which is they should take elements of that, and then they should take elements of the more modern Sonic games, but just do them a little bit better. So there's a fairly serious mix-up of the two, and that it doesn't compromise one for the other. Ah, bollocks. I always have a little bit of difficulty with this rival battle because getting the momentum up to the point where you can jump and then actually hit Metal Sonic is quite difficult. Also, they made this area much, much harder. There we go. You get about half the number of lampposts thrown at you in the easy mode. I say easy, it's just a sort of standard mode. It's good that the option's there, though. Regardless of how much it's annoying. I can't get to him. It takes a lot of practice to get this right. But it's nice as well, and once again, every level is themed after a classic Sonic level there. You know, they're very, very recognizable. And there's a massive nostalgia trip involved. Which, I think the massive nostalgia trip probably wouldn't have been enough on its own if the game also wasn't very, very good. Because that, to me, is like disrespecting the source material. I don't like that. That's I find that absolutely terrible. But this game doesn't. It actually respects it really, really well, and it realizes exactly what Sonic should be. Oh, balls. Yeah. Get out of the way of that. Thank you very much. I'm hoping he doesn't come over. Oh, Christ, he's going to do it again, isn't he? Alright, let's get out of the way. They sort of switch around the way that the bosses work in the hard mode, which is nice. Put a little bit of variance there on it. There's also a ton of collectible stuff. There's these red star rings that you can grab, which will unlock all sorts of things. Items, music, and stuff like that. I didn't go into the Sonic Collectibles room to check out all of that. So, honestly, up until this point, I am enjoying this game to a ludicrous degree. It is really, really good. And I suppose part of that is having such low expectations going in. It's like, oh, it's another Sonic game. It'll probably be terrible, like all the rest of them. But you know what? It actually isn't. Thank God for that. Finally, this drought of Sonic games is coming to an end, and as is this level, because I think I'm going to die here. Come on, I need rings. You won't give me rings. Oh, well. Never mind, it's fine. We can exit out of that. And I can show you something else, like, say, the Death Egg boss battle, which is pretty cool. I have no doubt that I've got to go through this game and I'm going to find areas where it's like, oh, I wish they'd put that zone in. And their selection of zones to start with is pretty good. I mean, you've got one from Sonic 1, one from Sonic 2, and one from Sonic and Knuckles. And then I think, after there's Death Egg from Sonic 2. I think Speed Highway is either Sonic Adventure 1 or 2, if I recall correctly. And then that one, I'm almost certain that's Sonic Adventure 2, because I remember that from playing the demo. But yeah, you could say go into Speed Highway, and there's an Act 1 version of Speed Highway. And think about that for a second. It's like, oh, that level was really cool in Sonic Adventure, but it was all in 3D. Not anymore, it ain't. There we go. Here is the 2D version of Speed Highway. This is what it looks like. To me, that seems absolutely fantastic. They even put some really hilarious like things in the background there, as you can see. Chaos Emerald mechanics, by the way, are in this game, but you generally earn them for doing certain challenges. Metal Sonic, for instance, earns you a Chaos Emerald. So that's there for a reason. There is no special stage as far as I can tell, but then again, maybe further in the game they might lampoon it. I don't know. I'm only a couple of hours into this. It's weird as well. You can actually activate a shield because of the skill set that I've got. That's a very, very odd system, but it's cool that it's actually in there. Now, which way am I going? Evidently not that way. Well, yeah, the levels do get progressively harder as you go through. It just seems to me like they've put a massive amount of love, care, and attention into this game. I really, really enjoy it as a result of that. It is so good. As a Sonic fan, having played Sonic 4 and not really enjoyed it all that much. You know, the first time I played Sonic 4, I was like, this is alright, you know, this is pretty cool. Hey, it's a 2D Sonic game again, guys. That's enough for us, right? And then realizing as you go through, actually, this doesn't feel like Sonic at all. It's just the way that they designed the physics just didn't work. Things like that, but not the case in this version. Let's not get run over by a car. That would be very unpleasant, wouldn't it? But this game does feel like Sonic through and through. I love it. I love it. I freaking love it, even if I occasionally screw it up. There we go. Die-hard Sonic fans will be whining at my lack of skill, and I don't care because it's Sonic, and I'm here just to have fun. There we go. Oh, God. That was dumb, wasn't it? But yeah, there's some actual fairly serious platforming in this as well. It's not all that easy. It's interesting, I think, that Sega have now only realized that this is sort of the way to do Sonic games, whereas Nintendo have been doing this kind of thing with Mario for quite some time. Like, they've been able to successfully pull off 3D and 2D Mario. And with Galaxies, they sort of mixed it up just a little bit. Certainly Generations mixes it up way more than Super Mario Galaxy does. Indeed, if you played Sonic Colors, which was not actually a terrible game, but it certainly didn't feel like a Sonic game, then that game was sort of trying to imitate Mario Galaxy. This game is just doing whatever it wants, and that I can definitely appreciate. That's actually perhaps the most important thing that they've just realized. You know what? Let's just have a look at what made the first Sonic game really good. I'm about to die on it. No, I'm not, as it turns out. There is actually another segment there with an extra power-up. That's kind of the neat thing as well. You often find these little hidden areas. You think, oh, I'm going to fall off the level. Actually, no. They've designed the level so that there are multiple layers to it, which is exactly what the original Sonic games were like. This is good. Oh, thank you for my spare rings. I guess I could just stand here doing that, but that's going to waste my time. We'll get through this, and then I'll do a... God. And we'll do a boss fight, I think, and then I'll conclude on this title. Alright, there we go. Oh, by the way, if you find the voice acting really annoying as well, there is a Japanese option, as well as various European languages. But yeah, turn it to Japanese and the voice is nowhere near as irritating. If you want really cheesy voice acting, you can have that on the English mode. Oh, they've got plenty of that. It's not something you need to worry about. Sup! A little bit of a helicopter segment there, because hey, why the hell not? It's good. It's really, really good. And I'm so happy that it is. I've been enjoying this so much this entire time. And as I said, it's excellent value for money, certainly in the UK. I'll check the pricing amount after I've done here and give you an annotation. There we go. I want to finish this level now. It's like, hey, I'm making progress. Might as well just continue. It's actually quite a lengthy level. I like it. Levels are not short, and with so many different options as well through the challenges, you get to see plenty of any given level. All sorts of different options. Well, it warned me. It warned me. Oh, never mind. It's alright, we can quit that. Alright, I'll show you the Death Egg boss battle, because it's actually pretty awesome. This is only the first boss battle in the game. There are several more. Alright, Death Egg Robot. Now, you can switch your character, but I'm pretty sure for the boss battles it doesn't make a difference. There's also a hard mode, so we can try that one out as well if we like. Yeah, in this version, I'm pretty sure you only play the classic Sonic. I think there's a battle against Perfect Chaos and things like that as well from Sonic Adventure, and I'm pretty sure you can only play the modern Sonic from that too. Ah, you remember that music. Yes, indeed. Let's fight the Death Egg Robot. So this is a multi-stage boss battle. And you don't have to go in with 0 rings. It's not designed that way. Now, in this one, you've got to sort of hit his underside right there. So you've got to wait for him to jump. He's going to jump at you, and then you can get under him and then attack him from the rear. There you go. Couple of hits there will initiate the second stage. It'll jump around. But yeah, I mean, the first boss fight is not exactly what I call difficult. Alright. Let's wait for him to jump. There we go. I think not, baby puppy. There you go, you are. Oh, bollocks. If you're not quick enough, he'll block that off, and you hit any other part of him. Either you'll get hurt if you hit the spikes, or if you hit his legs, you just bounce off completely. So, doesn't really make too much of a difference. So, honestly, you don't want to go too intense on the spin dash, because you'll never get back there in time. There we go. See if this does the second stage. He might take more hits in the hard mode. Wouldn't surprise me if it did. It's pretty cool to figure out. Bear in mind that if you leave all the help options on, it's going to force feed you information all the time. It's like, here, you have to hit this, you have to do this. It really is like easy mode in terms of the way that Sonic is done. Because obviously on a lot of Sonic games, you just have to figure out the way that fights are done. And that's fine. That's just the way that it is. But those help options can be turned off. For instance, the robotic Cheo that you can get will tell you all sorts of things. Like, oh, you have to do this here. Watch out for this attack. That's turned off in the options menu. Just turn it off straight away. Maybe leave the controller help options on for the 3D mode, because sometimes some of the things you've got to do are not that obvious, especially if you've never really played the modern Sonic games. But yeah, turn the Cheo off, because he's an annoying little bastard anyway. Alright, and then you can sort of go into stage 2 here. Very recognizable, massive nostalgia hit when you look at the background on this level. Let's get out of the way of that, thank you very much. I don't think this bit was actually in the start. There we go. Get bounced up here. And this is where it sort of goes into its crazy 2.5D mode. So what you have to do in this one is get it to lock onto an explosive device, which hurts it. You then jump on there. It then crazily changes its dimensions, and then you jump on the head. It's, you know, it's fairly simple, but it's a pretty awesome boss battle, and this is just the first one. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the rest of them are, because they should be fantastic. Alright then, folks. The one last thing that I will say is that I really like the hub world as well, because the hub world actually has platforming in it. You are encouraged to explore the hub world because a lot of the challenges take some effort to actually get to, some of the really hidden stuff. But you don't have to do all the challenges either, and that's awesome. You can just pick and choose, you've got loads of options. So to conclude, this is the best Sonic game I've played since the original Sonic Adventure, and even then, the original Sonic Adventure I think I only liked because it was brand new and on the Dreamcast and felt awesome. Objectively, I don't think Sonic Adventure was a good game. I mean, there were too many stupid segments, like fishing, for God's sake. What the hell has that got to do with anything? I enjoyed it at the time, but I certainly wouldn't enjoy it now. This is the best Sonic game since Sonic and Knuckles. I'll go as far as to say that. It is so much better than any Sonic game we've seen since then. And as a result, I don't have any hesitation in recommending this to you. The PC version, as I say, should really be played with a pad, and I'd like to see some more options there. But I think really all Sonic games have to be played with a pad, to be completely honest with you. And the price is right. So much content for so little. Heartily recommended, folks. Sonic Generations available right now from Sega and Sonic Team. My name has been TotalBiscuit, and I shall see you next time.